Everyone hates remakes, but today's movie proves that not all remakes are terrible. Welcome to Sick Flicks, where I take a deep dive into the cinematic sewer to help you embrace your inner Gore geek. I'm Mike Bracken, aka the Horror Geek, and today we're tackling Chuck Russell's gory remake of The Blob. Released in 1988, The Blob is a reimagining of the 1958 cult classic of the same name. Russelll's film ups the gore, modernizes the story, and replaces Steve McQueen with Shawnee Smith. It's the rare remake that's actually a worthy companion piece to the film that inspired it. But is it gory enough to earn a 5 barf bag rating? Let's get to the gore and find out. Oh, and before we get started, today's video is sponsored by patrons EV plus Weevy plus DV, which equals awesome in my book, Jeff Toon, and Bradley Davis. If you'd like to help sponsor some videos and free me from the shackles of YouTube's tyranny, you'll find a link in the pinned comment and description below. And now, let's get bloody. We fade in on some credits. Go home credits, you're drunk. Starring Kevin Dillon. I guess his brother Matt was too busy to be in this one. And Shawnee Smith. So this is what she was doing before hooking up with Jigsaw. Oh, and Donovan Leitch. I love when we get a Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo alumni on the show. Fun fact, Leitch was Shawnee Smith's date to the Hollywood High senior prom years before this movie was made. And now we cut to my greatest challenge, riffing 2001: A Space Odyssey. Hold on, this is just the opening scenes of Day of the Dead, right? Man, this place is so quaint. It's just begging for a disgusting alien spore to destroy it. Screenplay by Chuck Russelll and Frank Darabont. You may recall that they collaborated a year prior to The Blob on what is arguably the best Elm Street sequel, Dream Warriors. After 45 minutes of opening credits, we finally joined the Blob Bowl in the middle of the third quarter. Hey, I thought this was The Blob, not Friday Night Lights. Well, at least this isn't football practice. Looks like the town hero's this guy, and he's got his very own cheerleader to ogle. It's all going pretty great for Tim Cruise over here until he's informed that this is a tables, ladders, and chairs match. By God, they put him through the table! Man, my Jim Ross still sucks. Then things get even worse.
Got any plans this evening?
Sorry, Tim, but we're gonna have to table this discussion about a prom date until later. Meanwhile, Kevin Dillon screen tests for a role in The Outsiders 2, The Return of Dallas. Holy hell, that is one amazing Mississippi mudflap he's rocking. ODing on angst, Kevin channels his inner Evel Knievel. And it ends just like every other Evel Knievel stunt too, in a ditch. Probably should have just tried to jump the shark instead of this bridge. Thank God he was wearing that protective wig and leather jacket. Crazy Ralph gives it a 3.5. Back in town, Sheriff Jeffrey DeMunn tries to get cozy with Costco Kim Basinger at the local diner. And since it's Jeff DeMunn, she's into it.
Herb, are you asking me out?
Sort of.
I don't know, I'm kind of stuck here.
DeMunn's not so easily dissuaded, though.
That's my number there down at the station.
She's like, but this just says 911. Oh yeah, everything's coming up Millhouse. The sheriff does have a chance to talk to Baby Dillon, and we're informed that he's a juvenile delinquent on top of being a daredevil.
Now you mess up now, and you're in the majors.
Isn't he also the drummer from The Doors? Look, I just can't take Dillon's hair seriously. Reportedly, director Chuck Russelll insisted he get hair extensions. Roused by the cops, he heads over here to trash Arnie's sweet 1958 Plymouth Fury. I feel like we're getting pretty deep with the references already. I like where this is headed. Seriously, this wig. It's like someone said, just make him look like Sigourney Weaver in Ghostbusters. Later that night, we find Crazy Ralph crushing some beers in the woods. Too bad it's just for recycling. And just as he finishes up, the biggest can he's ever seen hurtles right over his head. That one could fund his retirement. Back in town, this guy's picking up some condoms.
Look, pal, give me a pack of Trojans and a Banaka spray.
The pharmacist is like, do you need a bag with that? But our stud's like, nah, I'll just turn the lights off. We then head back to the woods, where Crazy Ralph's giant can looks more like a molten turd. Well, that and Strawberry Nestle's quick. This film is lucky that Braindead Ralph was the person to find it, because anyone in their right mind would have left it alone, and that's the end of the movie. God, don't poke it with a stick. Didn't you see the original Blob? I'm no doctor, but judging by the color of this intergalactic booger, the Rock does not appear to have a cold. It really is the worst booger in the universe, though. There's no pick it and flick it with this thing. Back in Mayberry, Tim Cruise drops by Shawnee Smith's place before Jigsaw does. And Shawnee's little brother has some trouble with his zipper.
Stupid coat.
Here, let mommy help. Wonder if this is going to be important later. Back in the Kevin Dillon portion of the movie, we enjoy a little zen in the art of motorcycle maintenance. You could say he's really ratcheting up the tension here. Unfortunately, Kevin's quest for enlightenment is interrupted by a jump scare. And now he jump scares Shawnee and Tim Cruise.
Watch out!
But he succeeded in bringing the main cast together, so I guess that's a win. After some jibber-jabber, they take Ralph to the nearest hospital to get his hand checked out. Poor Ralph. He's gonna need to recycle 83 tons of cans to pay for an uninsured ER visit. For some unexplained reason, they're still at the hospital even after Crazy Ralph is admitted. Guys, he's not a stray puppy. You're not obligated to keep him. Timmy goes to check in on him, and man, look at that goiter. The doctor pulls back the blanket to find Ralph is half the hobo he used to be. Timmy then gets a call from director Chuck Russelll. Hey, Timmy, we've had a change of heart about letting you star in this movie. Then the Blob drops in for a visit. So much for Tim Cruise. It's like a modern English song up in here.
I'll stop the world and melt with you.
If you guessed Sheriff DeMunn was going to pin this crime on Kevin Dillon, give yourself a screenwriter's credit. Meanwhile, over in a hornier movie, Eli Roth takes Erica Eleniak out for some parking. Yeah, that's actually Erica Eleniak. This party needs more booze, so it's pretty sweet that he's got an entire mobile roofie bar right in his trunk. But while he's reenacting his favorite scenes from Cocktail, the Blob sees an opportunity to make his move. Unfortunately, it looks like Eli wasted his time, because his little brother Svante once said, "She's passed out like your mama at revival." I'm really not sure who's slimier here, Budget Eli or the Blob.
It's better, huh?
Anyway, he gets handsy, but the Blob is like a new age chastity belt. We then jump to the end of Cemetery Man. Back over in Plot A, Blobbo's feeling great. I mean, he's going through the grate to get some more food. I sure hope Robert Forster's not still down there filming Alligator. And down at the station, Kevin's taking the blame for the deaths at the hospital. Hey, that's Dr. Romano from ER. I sure hope he doesn't get crushed by a fallen helicopter. Also, do they think Kevin Dillon is a sentient ball of acid in his spare time? How is he a suspect? Since they can't prove he's a literal slime ball, they have to let him go.
Turn him loose.
And now Shawnee busts out of her house to bother him. God, can't he just brood in peace? Then, ever the rebel, he walks into the diner 5 minutes before closing and orders 6 entrees.
Well, grill's shut down. How about a sandwich?
Beautiful.
What a dick. But Shawnee refuses to leave him alone. Maybe she wants to borrow his conditioner. The town is being menaced by a giant space booger, but Sheriff DeMunn's got a hot date, so that's gonna have to wait. Priorities. Speaking of his hot date, Budget Basinger needs him to clean her pipes.
Hell yeah.
No, not like that, you pervs. I mean, the drain is clogged. The cook steps in to give it a go. And after a few pumps with the plunger, he decides to stimulate the prostate manually. That's a little forward, but I'll allow it. Once he's done giving the drain a hand, the drain returns the favor. Bad touch. Kevin and Shawnee run in to save the day, but they're a bit late. This is going to be a rough case for CSI. With the exit blocked, our 20-something teens head to the freezer to chill. But the Blob doesn't care for the cold. Aw, freeze don't go. Basinger runs to the phone booth to call the sheriff. But the Blob already brought him. You could say they both have a crush on her. Back inside, Dylan's trying out his new Candyman cosplay. Needs some work. Outside, the priest wanders by. Hey, anyone need any last rites in there? Communion, maybe? Meanwhile, Kay Dill and Shawnee try to drive off into a better movie. No pimpan so far, but we do have a slug bug. Was Claudio Fragasso on set? Because there's Fragasso levels of fog machine abuse in this scene. Kind of feel like they just wandered into a werewolf movie. Or maybe E.T., or an X-Files episode. But wherever they are, they're in deep trouble. These guys are just here to deliver some exposition.
A troublesome souvenir from space.
What?
A meteorite. Don't get too close.
Do you think Kevin and Shawnee are worried that everyone is in level 4 biohazard gear and they're in street clothes? Hey, remember Shawnee's zipper challenge little brother? Yeah, he's still in this movie and is watching a movie. How meta. Sure hope no hideous alien slime oozes through those vents. We even get a look at some movie magic. This is me when I worked as a projectionist, except this guy is conscious. And sober. He is pretty miserable though, because the AC just conked out. Probably a slime buildup in the puke pipe. Yep, found your problem. There's a POV shot stuck in the duct. And now the projectionist is doing his best chewed gum stuck to the underside of a table impression. Not bad. Back in E.T., the authorities are asking Kevin Shawnee to stay a while. At gunpoint. Looks like they're worried about the yokels being infected. That mullet must be contained before it spreads and infects the masses with bad hairstyles. But Kev ain't gonna take this lying down, so he immediately tries to escape. I guess they should have checked his jacket for the ratchet set. Man, this is just like how everyone got sent to those detainment camps at the start of Red Dawn. Back at the movies, the Blob takes care of a heckler.
We're trying to watch it.
Maybe he's not all bad. I mean, I hate it when some dude just blabs through the whole movie. Wait, Luckily, Shawnee arrives just in time to relive the iconic shot from the original. They head for the exit together, but her brother's broken zipper rears its ugly head. If you knew this was going to pay off, go ahead, give yourself a screenwriter's credit. With maybe a second to spare, they bust the kid out of his members-only jacket and make a run for it. At a dead end, their only way of escape is into the sewer because monster movie. If I've learned anything from doing this show, it's that the sewer is probably full of giant alligators people flush down the toilet. Or slugs. Searching for greener pastures, Kevin runs across the biohazard team messing with the meteor. Maybe they got this strategy from Bird-Eye Gordon. Do you kids even remember Bird-Eye Gordon movies? Christ, I'm old. Then we get some exposition.
The organism is growing at a geometric rate.
This will put U.S. defense years ahead of the Russians.
Of course they want to use it as a weapon. And they don't care about the locals.
What about the civilians?
They're expendable.
Least surprising plot twist ever. Budget Sigourney Weaver, who overheard the whole conversation, decides to head back into the movie to save the town. Or at least Shawnee. This bike chase would be a lot dumber if he had a couple of raptors running alongside him. And since everything pays off in this movie, he escapes thanks to this sweet bridge jump. Kevin then ducks into a sewer pipe to hide from the authorities, so it looks like he and Shawnee might run into each other. But for now, she's on her own with these middle schoolers. And the Blob. All this water is giving me aliens flashbacks. Shawnee manages to get her brother up the ladder, but his buddy gets blobbed. I'm starting to think the kiddies would escape this, but maybe John Sayles did a rewrite. While the Blob finishes digesting its first 12-year-old, Shawnee climbs to safety with an assist from some extras from Outbreak. They aren't very effective, but they do come in their own wrappers. Unable to fit through the bar, Shawnee does the Nestea plunge. Her form could use some work. Unfortunately for her, she's wandered right into the finale of Stephen King's It. Just as she's about to get out on her own, Kevin shows up to help her. I'm glad she didn't grab his hair extensions. And now they're gonna take a trip down the poop chute.
Hell yeah.
No, not like that, you perv. I mean, they're biking through the sewer. But once they reach the end of the sewer set, they're gonna have to face the beast. This is something old Kev's been waiting for. Maverick! Well, that was easy. They ditch the bike and immediately run into a jump scare. Hey, it's Bill Moseley. No, really, it's actually Bill Moseley. They try to use Bill as a bargaining chip, but the mad scientists aren't buying in.
Close the manhole.
They seal our heroes in the sewer with Chop Top and hope for the best. Hey, they're using the alligator method to keep them down there. This has to be intentional. But Chop Top's got an ace in the hole. A bazooka. That's gotta be the most 1988 plot point I've seen on this show. Kevin then puts a charge into the proceedings by blowing the manhole sky high. This is probably the most explosive thing to happen in this sewer since they had Taco Tuesday down at the diner. Anyway, they climb out of the sewer and into the final act of Terminator? Or maybe it's the end of Reservoir Dogs. This is all interrupted when our title character shows up. Welcome to Slime Time. Well, you can say one thing about the Blob. He really helps the boss fill out his suit. With their leader gone, the remainder of the Outbreak posse decides to start blasting. I sure hope they don't hit a Ninja Turtle. But all this does is make the Blob angrier. With pandemonium breaking loose, Shawnee figures out the only way to beat the Blob is to give it the cold shoulder. Kevin is busy too, borrowing his boss's snowmaking truck. How convenient. Back at the church, Officer Dr. Romano has done all he could, but it's time for him to split. He's really bending over backwards for these people. Kevin pulls in for the final showdown and tries to turn him into a DQ Blizzard. I like mine with Butterfingers, but this version has deputy chunks in it. The Blob is not pleased by this, and flips Kevin's wig, and the truck. Now the Blob has got him in prime position for a bear hug. Oh, look at that cute little miniature truck in town. It's adorable. Shawnee then channels her inner Scarface. Say hello to my little friend. But just as she sets the snow tank to blow, her foot gets caught. Maybe she should pull a Carrie Elwes and saw that leg off. Kevin wins the foot race with the Blob and gets to Shawnee with at least a few seconds to spare. There's no digital timer on this bomb. How am I supposed to know how close she is to blowing up? Doesn't matter because it goes kaboom with the Blob right on top of it. Wouldn't this just mean there are now thousands of tiny new Blobs running around? And just like that, Christmas was saved. At any rate, they're going to need a really big snow shovel to clean all of this up. Let's be honest, Kevin is the real winner here. He finally found someone to accept him in his wig. But I've seen enough of these movies to know there's a swerve ending coming. Wait for it.
The Lord will give me a sign.
Yeah, there it is. So, what have we learned from the Blob? The key takeaway is that not every remake is automatically terrible. This film sits right alongside The Thing and The Fly as proof that sometimes remakes can actually surpass the movies that inspire them. It's rare, but it happens. But enough about that. Can this inside-out stomach from outer space dissolve enough people to earn the coveted 5 barf bag rating? Let's go to the Gore card! In terms of gross anatomy, the Blob delivers. We're treated to interplanetary digestion with severed limbs, severed torsos, melting faces, and a dead middle schooler. The effects work is uniformly excellent, and there's more than enough carnage here to give the Blob a full 5 barf bag rating. This is definitely a sick flick. Looking for more slimy practical effects? Then be sure to check out my review of From Beyond. You'll find a link here on the screen. I'll meet you over there. Until next time, I'm Mike Bracken, aka The Horror Geek, bringing you all the splatter that matters.